Hello there, and thanks for watching Palo Alto Firewalls video training series. My name is Rasul, and on the first video training, I'm going to show you how to create a testbed lab infrastructure for your Palo Alto Firewalls with a couple of client machines and internet access, and basically create a complete testbed infrastructure so you can do whatever you need to do with Palo Alto, and you can learn whatever you need to learn basically about Palo Alto Firewalls. What you basically need to be able to build a test lab is pretty much what most of you should already have anyway. We obviously need a Windows 7, Windows 8 PC or laptop to be able to obviously install the softwares and everything. So, and that's pretty much the only hardware requirement that you need. Obviously, because we're going to do virtualization, a couple of virtual machines and things like that, and on top of that, it needs to have enough resources and enough memory, enough CPU processing, enough hard disk space and things like that. So you can create multiple virtual machines on the top of it and get them running at the same time. But really, we don't really need a huge amount of resources. Pretty much 6 gig of memory minimum should be enough to get started. 50 gig or 100 gig of disk space should also be enough. Depends on what kind of operating systems you want to use and you want to install as basically your client or your authentication server, whether it's a Linux, it's a Windows, it could be different. Well, a reasonable size of CPU processing is obviously important. So any Intel CPU with Core i5 or i7 should do the job. The important obviously note is we're working on VMware virtualization, and you need to have virtualization technology for your CPU enabled on the BIOS of your computer. So if that's not enabled, make sure that you enable that. Most of the computers, they already support virtualization anyway, so you could just go ahead, go to the BIOS of the computer and just enable that virtualization technology for your computer. That is required basically to be able to create 64-bit operating systems and things like that. You obviously need VMware Workstation Edition. That's an important obviously requirement. We're going to create all the virtual machines on VMware. You could possibly use VMware Player as well if you don't really have the VMware Workstation Edition, or you don't want to spend money to get the Workstation Edition. Player should do the job as well. It's just recommended to use the Workstation Edition because it gives you more flexibility in terms of networking, creating different LAN segments, and it just gives you more features and things like that. Otherwise, you could possibly go with VMware Play as well. The only note there is this test lab is not going to work with VirtualBox, so don't try VirtualBox. Well, at least at this point of time, it's not working because Palo Alto Virtual Edition is not working on VirtualBox. It only works on VMware. So if in the near future they just change it and they release it for VirtualBox as well, you could possibly use VirtualBox as well. But at this point of time, which is pretty much late 2015, it's not available for VirtualBox. You obviously need Palo Alto Virtual Edition OVF file to be able to import it to VMware Workstation. You could contact Palo Alto Networks on the website, let them know that you want to try something, you want to try the firewalls, And if you are coming from a business or possibly you are a student, you want to try Palo Alto Firewall, they usually give you a 60 days license, so you could basically install the license, get the OVF file, and try the features, and basically find out how it works. After the 60 days period, the only thing that will be blocked or will be stopped will be your automatic updates, internet updates, and things like that. Still, firewall is going to be functional, so you could possibly use firewall forever. It's just not getting updates. If you don't really, for whatever reason, you don't really want to get in touch with Palo Alto networks, I don't really know why, but if you are in a country, for example, that they don't work with that country, or for whatever reason, you could possibly download the OVF file on Google. Just do some Google search about the OVF file. I'll show you a couple of techniques that you could possibly use and find the OVF file. It's nothing rock science. Probably you could do that yourself, but the OVF files are available on the website, on the web, and you could download it from anywhere anyway. The other thing that you obviously require is a client virtual machine. Whether it's a Linux or a Windows doesn't really matter. It's just something to be able to generate the traffic. For this lab, I will be using a Windows 2012 server, basically. That will be my client machine, and that will be my authentication server as well. So I'm going to show you how to basically use a Windows authentication on Palo Alto Firewalls, and how to basically generate some traffic on the same machine and get internet access and things like that. So I'll be using it for both purposes. Okay. So this is basically the design that we need to have for this lab. Is pretty simple design. So all we need is just a virtual edition Palo Alto Firewall, a client virtual machine, and this is going to be your PC or laptop, whatever you're using. Your PC or laptop obviously needs to have a wireless or wired internet connection, so you need to have internet access on that machine. The rest of the infrastructure is going to be virtualized, so pretty much the only physical interface that you will need to have on your PC is just for internet access. The rest of the interfaces are all virtual. You see, on Palo Alto Firewall, we have like 3 interfaces. One interface is purely used for management, which we are using VMnet 1, which is the VMware host-only adapter. So we will basically manage the firewall on our PC, which I will show you later on. There will be one interface for the external facing, Palo Alto external facing or external network. This is basically your internet connection on Palo Alto Firewall, and you can see that your PC will be used as a router, as an internet edge router. So you'll have, this is your outside basically network of Palo Alto Firewall. And on the other side, you will have your inside network of Palo Alto Firewall. Basically, you will have a client machine. That's basically your corporate network or your LAN network, whatever you call it. And the users are sitting here, and they can basically go through the internet through Palo Alto Firewall. Pretty simple. What I'm going to show you now is basically, as you can see, I've already installed a Windows Server 2012 in there, so I didn't want to really waste your time taking your time, go through the Windows installation. You already know that anyway, so we'll skip that. I'm just going to show you how to basically import the OVF file. If you go to File and open and you see that I've got the Palo Alto VMware edition version 7, the OVA file right here. Just double click on that, and you can obviously change the path. You could keep the path whatever you want, and click on import. So once you do that, your OVA file will be imported to VMware Workstation Edition, and they do have some basically recommended default configuration with a specific amount of memory, a specific amount of disk space, network adapters, and all those kind of things, which you could possibly change it. You could change the amount of memory, you could change the amount of CPU and things like that, but we're not going to really do too much of a changes for these labs. So we import it, and by default, what you need to know by default when you import it, it's going to give you 2 network interfaces only. So we need to add the third one, and so on. So while it's being imported, I'm going to show you basically how to download the OVA files on the web if you don't really want to, as I said, if you don't really want to get it from Palo Alto Network themselves, or you don't want to communicate, or you can't for whatever reason communicate with them. So one of the ways that you could possibly search is just search for the file name. So you can see that I've got version 7 already there. Version 7 is a pretty new version, so you possibly need to basically contact them to get version 7 because it's too new at this point of time. By the time that you're listening to this video, it might not be, so you could possibly find it online. But if you search for an older version, like you can see that I've got version 6.1 over there. If you search for version 6.1, you can see that there is like a website over there. Click on the website, and you can see the OVA file is available there. So there are ways to basically download the OVA file by Google search or things like that. Obviously the benefit of going through Palo Alto network directly is you could get the trial licenses and things like that. So they're gonna give you free licenses basically to be able to download signatures, download IPS signatures, virus signatures, and things like that. Apart from that, as I said, you could just download it on the web and get it done. Going back to our diagram, as you can see, as I mentioned, we need to do a couple of changes. We need to make sure that those changes are available. So on your PC, you need to have a wireless, as I said, or wired internet connection, and these 2 network interfaces are VMnet 8 and VMnet 1. Basically, you need to have the right appropriate IP addresses in there. Basically, I have allocated some IP addressing. You could change the IP addressing based on your need, but this is what I basically decided to have. I just show you here so you can see the diagram as well. Let's make it smaller. You can see I've got VMnet 8. So my VMnet 8 on computer is supposed to have 192.168.137.1 IP address. So I have already allocated that IP address for my VMnet 8. You can see that over there. And my VMnet 1 is supposed to have 192.168.62 .1, which is this one. You can see here. So I've got the right IP addresses on my PC. On the other side, my basically virtual machine, which is my Windows 2012 in this case, supposed to have that IP address 192.168.1.2, and it's supposed to be on inside LAN segment, basically of the firewall, sorry, of the VMware. So I show you here. If you just go to the settings of that Windows machine, you can see that got 2 gig of memory, 1 CPU, 60 gig disk space, and things like that. But if you look at the LAN segment, you see that I've got basically I've created a LAN segment which is called inside LAN segment. So you could create as much as LAN segments as you want, but the important thing is this machine and the inside interface of your Palo Alto Firewall that's supposed to be in the LAN on the same LAN segment. So that's basically how I've done it. So now the Palo Alto Firewall has been imported. You can see that I've got the Palo Alto Firewall over there. I just right click and click on the settings. So you can see the default configuration is 4 gig of memory, 2 CPU, 40 gig of disk space, and things like that. You can see by default it's got 2 network adapter. So I just if I go back to the diagram, you can see that we need three adapters. The internal one will be on the inside LAN segment. Management one will be on VMnet 1. External one or outside one will be on VMnet 8. So we just go back to configuration over there. So the first network adapter is always the management one. So we just leave it on VMnet 1. That's the management. Second one is the inside basically interface. This is supposed to be on the same network as our Windows 2012. So we just choose LAN segment and inside LAN segment. So once we've done this is on the same network as Windows 2012. You can see you can create, rename, adding more LAN segments and things like that as well if you want to. So the next step is obviously adding another network adapter, which is a bit tricky, to be honest. So we just try to add a network adapter. We just what we need basically is supposed to be on VMnet 8, as we discussed, because this is the external. If going back to diagram again, this is VMnet 8. This is the external basically interface. So we just do that, add it, and we can see now we got all of our network interfaces. VMnet 1, also only that's the management, LAN segment, inside LAN. This is the inside interface of the Palo Alto Firewall. And VMnet 8, this is the basically outside of the Palo Alto Firewall. The only note here is by default, when you create a network adapter, the type of the network adapter is not going to be VMXNet 3, which is something required for Palo Alto Virtual Edition to work with. So we need to obviously do that modification manually. So I click on this. We have to go to basically, just show you here. We have to go to basically the installation folder. There's a VMX file. That's the VMware configuration file. We just open it with Notepad, and you just try to find the network adapters. So if you see the Ethernet 0.virtual device is VMXNet 3, Ethernet 1, same thing is VMXNet 3. But if we look at the Ethernet 2, virtual device is not VMXNet 3. So that's something we need to change. So we'll go ahead and basically change that to VMXNet 3 and save it. And that's it. And that's pretty much it. We are pretty much ready to go and start configuration of our Palo Alto Firewall. We have everything set up as per obviously our lab requirement. We have our 2012 here in the inside segment with Palo Alto Firewall inside interface. We got the management network. We got the outbound of the Palo Alto Firewall, and we got internet access on our basically laptop. So we got everything ready. The next step is obviously to fire up the Palo Alto Firewall, start doing the obviously initial configuration, and then get access to it over a web browser or something, and start obviously setting it up, which I'm going to show you on the next video. I hope that you've enjoyed this first video, and I'll be with you obviously on the next video when you decide to watch the next one. I appreciate your time, and see you soon.